And normally we read this Vachanamrut. This Vachanamrut is written on the day after Ekadashi to understand the Mahima or the greatness of Ekadashi some 193 years ago by Lord Swaminarayan. On the August 10, 1821. Right now it is 2012. It's about 191 years ago or so, This Vachanamrut was recited in Gadhada, where Swaminarayan Bhagavan mostly stayed in the palace of Dada Khachar. And when we think palace, it wasn't as air conditioned as this we have today. Swaminarayan Bhagavan liked doing Ekadashi and other festivals, not for any of his interest or gain, but for the devotees, those who would like to achieve the higher stage, from wherever they are, Bhagavan Ekadashino Mahima ભક્તો માટે ગાય છે. જો ભક્તો એકાદશી એ પ્રમાણે કરે, એ પ્રમાણે વર્તે, એ પ્રમાણે વર્તવાની ઈચ્છા રાખે તો આગળ વધે. એટલે ભગવાન એકાદશીનું નિમિત્ત લઈને ભક્તોને કંઈક સમજાવવા માટે આ વાત કરે છે. So there was an assembly of saints and other sitting and singing the bhajans and doing the devotional song on the day after Ekadashi, earlier in the morning. And normally those saints and devotees who were doing Ekadashi would be not eating on that day, sometimes not even drinking liquid or water on that day. And then the next day, they would have the lunch served. Maybe breakfast, but normally the lunch. So they were all with that Ekadashi background, fasting, and they were waiting for the lunch to be prepared, And Bhagavan is talking about the greatness of Ekadashi. So, Paramhams, they were singing bhajan. On the day of Ekadashi, they stay up late at night and do bhajan and singing and chanting and other things, And then next day, they are up again and singing bhajan and everything. We went to the marriage ceremony today, and we had lot of our relatives and friends and family members that we met. We met Dr. Arvind Bhai Patel, who is the doctor in Holy Family, and now he is here with the hospital here, Lutheran, yeah. Because Holy Family is, now doing different things, And he did operation of Kusumanti and Bafo, So, and he is very nice and humble doctor, And he is Swaminarayan, He goes to Willing Temple, So we had a little chat. that we said today is Ekadashi. He says, yeah, I do Ekadashi, and on top of that I do fasting on Saturday, whether there is Ekadashi or not. He does couple of fasting, Saturday and maybe Monday or Thursday, Different people pick different days of fasting, Saturday is the day of Hanumanji, Monday is the day of Lord Shiva. Thursday is the Lord of Guru or Master, And Friday is Lord of Shukracharya or, Mataji and others, So, on that day they fast. They eat maybe one time, or they don't eat one time at all, varieties of, observance. So he is doing Ekadashi, he is doing fasting, but being a doctor, he was discussing, that I don't understand why the Nirjala Ekadashi is supposed to be performed. Nirjala is without water, that you don't drink water also during the whole day, So you start out from the day before, that last, તમે આગલા દિવસે થોડુંક કંઈક પાણી લીધું હોય જમ્યા પછી, પછીથી the whole night, then the whole day Ekadashi, then the next night, and then the next morning, Now there is a compromise. Sometimes they use midnight as the breaking time, and then they break the Ekadashi fast, and have some liquid, some juice, or something like that in the summer, hot summer in India, But Dr. Arvind Bhai was telling, that as we grow old, our arteries, they are not smooth, inside. They are rough, coarse within the wall of arteries. And the blood which flows, the solid part of the blood flows in the center, and it flows with the less solid, and liquid part or the thin part, which carries all these other, nutrients and other things, are touching the wall of the arteries, And that is in a technical term called laminar flow. There are two types of flow in the science, One is called laminar, the other one is called turbulent. Yeah? Linear is different. Linear is similar to laminar, The laminar flow is like a smooth flow, that it does not get disturbed, And the turbulent flow is, up and down, it gets mixed up and all those things, So, doctor was saying, normally in the arteries the flow is laminar flow. And the reason is because, the outer surface of the arteries should not get erosion. That's why the lighter liquid flows near there, watery part, But then he was saying, as we grow old, the arteries gets rough. And as we grow old, and if we don't consume the water, then the solid parts now flow on the surface of the arteries. And it gets erosion, it can remove certain parts hanging in the arteries and have the stroke or, some medical problem, So his thoughts were, that we should not have the fasting without water, especially when we are growing old, for the old people, So that was his comment and advice, I didn't want to say, that you are right, but all this writing by the God and the sages has a reason also, that in 15 days, one day if you do that, it brings the system back to life, Because if you keep doing same thing over and over, then system does not learn anything new, And if some shock comes, then we would be in bad shape, But every 15 days, if we do this kind of fasting, every summer time, if we do this kind of fasting, then the whole season, the body creates the immunity against it, and makes us live longer. But he is not maybe, accepting that, I guess, because he thinks, that we should not drink water, And everybody has a different lifestyle, Somebody would be okay without water. Somebody will be so-so with water, and somebody will be suffering some problems without water also, And those who suffer from the problems is again divided into so many reasons why they suffer, It can be from the genetics, it can be their own creation, or they have done so much banging and damage to their body, eating some rough and bad food and all those things. So, there is varieties of things, But the bottom line is, that should we do fasting without water or not, And yes, if you think that this writing of God and other saints is not perfect, and you are perfect, then yes, you can do that, you can compromise, Or, if you cannot do it, then don't say that this is not right, but think that maybe you are not capable of doing it, and ask for the forgiveness that you cannot do it, But in this Ekadashi Vachanamrut, Samnar Bhagavan has gone even further than performing the Ekadashi rituals on every 15 days, He says that those who are Niranna Mukta, they don't need the Anna. Anna means food. Nir-an is no food. Those who do not consume any food are called Niranna Mukta. And they reside in a place called Shvetadip. Shvetadip is the enlightenment, light, light, light. Shvet means white. White means, enlightenment. Opposite to that is dark, So, those liberated souls who reside in Shvetadip, there is a island or a place that they reside is called Shvetadip. They don't eat at all, They are generating energy from themselves, Sun in the sky is one of them, He is Niranna Mukta. He does not consume anything from outside. But from within, he generates the energy and he sends the light and heat to all these planets and other things, So, there are so many such Niranna Mukta in Shvetadip, So, Swaminarayan Bhagavan is even going higher, that think of yourself to be a Niranna Mukta forever. You don't need to eat at all. Swaminarayan Bhagavan practiced that for 6 months, He had no food, no water, nothing, But that is on a deeper level, not on the physical level, but now you are going on a mental and subconscious and conscious and beyond that level, thinking that way, So that is what Swaminarayan Bhagavan is trying to bring the message to, But Swaminarayan Bhagavan is starting out with a little story from the Purans. Puran is the group of scriptures which has the past stories that we can learn and learn from that, read and learn from that, that is called Puran, And Pur means past, and An means drawing forward, When we draw forward from the past, that scripture is called Puran, So in the Puran, there is one story about Ekadashi. And I think I will not go into that detail because we have done many times. And it has been read in both Gujarati and English. But if somebody has that question, maybe we can do it after or next sitting or session, or you can give us a call. But on that story, Bhagavan said that Ekadashi killed a demon. And then Samar Bhagavan is focusing on the next set of scriptures, which are called Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastras are normally Smrutis and Shrutis. Smruti is written by the sages, advising their disciples how to live a holy life, pure life, divine life. Shrutis are above that, That is coming from the God or Brahma, and it has a very deep meaning of every word and every statement, And they are called Vedas, that is Vachanamrut, this one what we are reading, Swamini Vato. They are called Shrutis, the first hand discussion. So, Samnar Bhagavan is saying, according to the Shruti, Dharma Shastra, Ekadashi fast should be observed. On that day, one should not allow impure thoughts of lust, anger, avarice, etc. to arise in the mind. Those thoughts arise in the mind, and then we perform the action, either anger, the lust, the greed, or whatever, And then there are others, hurt, man, and irsha, the stubbornness, the egoistic tendency, and the jealousy, So those thoughts should not arise in mind, especially on this day. We should make sure that mind should not get entertainment into that, If that thought comes, then we say that stop today. Today is Ekadashi, no entry. We'll give you chance later on, but not today. Something like that, you want to make compromise with the mind, But Bhagavan says that is what Dharma Shastras are saying. This is what the scriptures prescribe. In accordance with those scriptures, I also say that on the day of Ekadashi, one should not merely fast. Now, real translation of Gujarati, Samar Bhagavan is using not the word whom. Who means I in Gujarati, but he is always using the word ame. And ame means we, right? So, the translation here, ame means we. Ame tyan gaya tha, we went there, right? But Bhagavan is using always superlative, not singular, But here is translated as I, which is okay, but there is a difference, So Bhagavan says that we also say that on the day of Ekadashi, one should not merely fast, but one should also forsake the food of the 11 indriyas. There are 11 senses. 10 senses plus the mind. 10 senses are subdivided into 5 Jnanendriya and 5 Karmendriya. 5 Jnanendriya is the sensory faculty, and Karmendriya is the slave or acting sensories, For example, eye is considered Jnanendriya, that you see with the eye something, And if you see a tiger coming or a dog coming or a snake coming, then eye and mind will order the legs that run. So, the legs are the slaves, and they get the order from the mind and the eye, and they run, right? Or when the eye reads in the newspaper that there is a grand sale coming, blue light sale, then they tell also the legs, that let's run, and the mind, So, the eye becomes the Jnanendriya, the knowledge sense, knowledge faculty, Same way the ear, When you hear something good, you draw closer, nice music and everything. But when you hear something bad about you, then say, not here, let's go away, bhai. શું કહેવું છે ભાવિશા? At least she is smiling. So hearing is also a talent faculty or jnanendriya. Same way, the touch. When somebody pampers you, you like to continue that. Even the animals, when we were young, we had bulls at our farm, and we would pamper right at there underneath the skin, and they would enjoy, But if somebody starts slapping you, then you run away from that person, right? When they see a stick in the hand or a gun, you try to stay away, So, skin also is the jnanendriya, sense faculty, Then, the smell. Smell is also jnanendriya, By smelling something, we run away or we get closer, That's why we spray every morning, perfume. So when I hear about perfume, I remember Bob Hope, he was a comedian, in America, So in the state of Indiana, there is a city called Terre Haute. And Terre Haute means terrible heat or terrible hot, So one day he was seeing one lady, and says, she has put on perfume. So he smells and says, honey, what do you wear, today? And she says, evening in Paris. That was the perfume, I think it is called, right? Evening in Paris. Evening in Paris perfume. So then he says that, honey, come on, I have the noon in Terre Haute. Or the afternoon in Terre Haute, Means I'm sweating, and my sweat is smelling, And everybody has a different sweat aroma also, Depending upon what we eat, right? Or we don't eat, So that is the perfume, normally we wear, right? And we hide that perfume by other perfume, So it is a mixture of, So when you see somebody putting on a perfume, you normally think that it smells good, right? But do you ever think that that person is hiding the other smell? Maybe 90% you are smelling the perfume, but 10% is the bad smell, is mixed also. That's why that person is putting on perfume, right? So you think only the 90% perfume, but other 10% which is the afternoon in Terre Haute, Yeah. So theoretically you should stay away from that person, right? The one who is putting on perfume. Because your nose is not getting it, but that smell is coming in to your lungs, right? That's just the humor part of it, You don't have to stay away from that person, But in the Shibir, Swamiji had mentioned about, Parvat Bhai, that when he came, he was all sweating for several days, not taking a bath because of, working in the farm and field. But when he came, all these saints, they stayed away from him, saying that he's stinking, he's smelling, And Swaminarayan Bhagavan hugged him and sat with him. Now, you think that Swaminarayan Bhagavan had no sense of smell? No, he had. But he overcame with that smell and saw the qualities of a devotee. Not only that, but telling others that, look, it's not just the smell, but his company makes the difference, When something bad is stinking, we don't like to go close to that, right? But have you seen flies and other things, enjoying? Eh? They enjoy. So, it's not all bad, There is something. And flies, they have a smell faculty, But they overcome the smell for the sake of food, right? They take the food priority, They are hungry, So they go there and they eat, even though stinky stuff, We don't, But anyhow, the point is, that our nose also has a jnanendriya, And then the fifth one is the taste, the tongue. The tongue likes the right type of food, And there are 6 different varieties of tastes, according to the scriptures. The sweet and the bitter. But we don't like bitter, We like sweet. Why? Because we think that bitter taste is not good for the tongue, But according to the medicinal those bitter become bitter. And those things are not bad, according to the medicinal advice, They need to be part of our digesting or our diet, But anyhow, the tongue uses these 6 different tastes, Tongue has another function also. And it is karmendriya, And the slave portion, the slave part, The karmendriya means the legs, the hands, the tongue, our excretory system, urination and the fetus, So, fist, So those are the 5 slave sensory system, And tongue is one of them, And that portion is talking, When tongue talks, it is doing the action of some other senses advice, If the eye sees some good thing, then we say, oh, very nice, So tongue says that is the slave part of tongue. Tongue, when tasting, also says, very good food, So it's doing both function, And very bad if something, not good, So tongue is doing both part, So tongue is considered a very unique indriya, unique sense, It is doing 2 functions. It is considered even 3rd function, Taste is one, talk is another one. But if we eat or drink cold or hot stuff, tongue gets that reaction also. Burning or, too cold or whatever, So tongue has 3 functions, Sparshindriya, and then Vakindriya, and then Rasna Indriya. So it has 3 functions really. But normally we describe 2 as major functions, which are, one is in the Jnanendriya group and one is in the Karmendriya group, That's how we separate the 2, But these 5 senses and 5 the slave senses add up to 10. And the 11th is the mind, So that is what Swaminarayan Bhagavan is saying here, That on the day of Ekadashi, one should not merely fast, but one should also forsake the food of the 11 indriyas. Every indriya has its own food. We should forsake that. We should stop that, Only then can Ekadashi observance be considered true. If we only eat limited, eating wise only, then we are doing 1/11th of the whole total, So only about 10% or less, Without that, it should be known as mere fasting. Without that, it is mere fasting. The real word in Gujarati is dhor langan. Dhor langan, dhor means animal, the domestic animal, and langan means delaying the eating. In the summertime, those farmers, they have their cattle and animals at home, but they do not have enough to feed them, So they feed only so much in summertime. They have not accumulated, or if they have accumulated, it burned, It's caught fire or whatever. So they are without food now, So their animals go on fasting, and they delay eating, and that is a forceful fast, not within the mind, and that is called dhor langan. The animals do not get food, and they lose their weight and fat, So sometimes we do that way without considering this is also dhor langan, even though we do the fasting, So Samdana Bhagavan is trying to emphasize the real value of controlling the mind and controlling all the 11 senses, and not only controlling, because you can spend whole day in controlling, and waste your time in doing the prayer or chanting, but controlling to make our time available for focusing towards God or focusing towards the good qualities of our life, That is the whole idea, on the Ekadashi. So this is the second paragraph, I think we are getting about an hour or so. So maybe we want to pause. Rati Masa is giving us a signal, So why don't we pause here, And you can read and, meditate on this Vachanamrut in your own time. But the point is, at the middle, at the end, Swamidana Bhagavan is saying that we have three modes of nature, Sattva gun, Rajogun, Tamogun. And God is beyond the three modes of nature, It's called Nirgun. Gun means all these three modes of nature, Nirgun means without these three impurities, And God says that if we have the company of God and His saints, then even though we have this possession of modes of nature, we are Nirgun. Just by having the company of God and the saints. We should think that way. And those who do not have the company of God, and even though they are meditating, even though they are doing penance, they are Sagun. They have some mode of nature. So the company of God makes the big difference, That is what in later part of Vachanamrut Bhagavan is saying. And we are fortunate that we have such company of God and such satsang. So we should think ourselves that we are beyond the three modes of nature. Even though we like tasty food, we first offer to God. So it becomes Nirgun. Even we like nice perfume, we offer to God, So in the morning, before you put on yourself, spare a little bit to God, and then put on yourself. That God, you first. Then it becomes Nirgun. So that is the message. There are so many other things, and we have talked also, but we are getting close, to the time. And everybody has limit of listening, I guess. ચાલો સરસ સજાનંદ સ્વામી મહારાજની જય જય જય. કોઈને કંઈ પૂછવું છે? Anybody has any question on this that not clear, that maybe we can talk a little bit? So Virat, you are enjoying? Okay.